Did you know that some types of psychosis are actually completely reversible? What if the hallucinations or paranoia you are seeing in a patient are actually a sign of a hidden infection or brain inflammation? Welcome back. Today we are exploring the medical mimics of schizophrenia, specifically focusing on reversible infective and inflammatory causes that every neuropsychiatrist absolutely needs on their radar. We are structuring this as a rapid-fire question and answer session, complete with the important red flags you should look out for each diagnosis. Let us dive in. Question 1. When should you suspect a reversible infective or inflammatory cause of psychosis? Answer. You should maintain a very high index of suspicion when specific clinical anchors are present. These red flags include fever, altered consciousness, focal neurological signs, new-onset seizures, abnormal cerebrospinal fluid findings, or elevated inflammatory laboratory markers. These clues strongly suggest that something else is going on beyond a primary psychiatric illness. Question 2. What are some key infective causes that can mimic psychosis and how are they treated? Answer. Let us look at infective causes that improve significantly with antimicrobial or antiviral therapy. First, spirochetal infections. Neurosyphilis, notoriously called the great imitator, can present with schizophrenia-like psychosis, personality changes, or dementia. The major red flags are often the absence of typical psychotic features and a progressive cognitive decline. Diagnosis is through VDRL or RPR tests with confirmatory troponemal tests and CSF studies. Crucially, it is highly treatable with 4-penicillin. Then there is Lyme disease, or neuroborreliosis, which is a tick-borne infection caused by Borrelia burgdorferi. Red flags include subtle cognitive changes, paranoia, hallucinations, and significant mood symptoms following a tick bite or rash. Treatment involves ceftriaxone or doxycycline. Moving to viral encephalitides. Herpes simplex encephalitis is a medical emergency that presents with acute onset psychosis, extreme agitation, seizures, and memory disturbance, particularly due to temporal lobe involvement, which can be seen on imaging. Rapid treatment with 4-acyclovir is critical. Another viral cause is HIV-associated neurocognitive disorder, where psychosis can occur in untreated HIV or related opportunistic infections and often improves remarkably with antiretroviral therapy. Now for bacterial infections. Tuberculous meningitis is particularly important to consider, especially in regions like India. Red flags can include behavioral changes, paranoia, or a delirious psychosis. Treatment involves standard antitubercular therapy plus steroids. Neurobrucellosis is associated with occupational exposure to livestock and can cause prominent psychiatric symptoms, depression, or psychosis. It is treated with combination antibiotics. Lastly, leptospirosis rarely presents with neuropsychiatric symptoms, but can sometimes cause delirium or psychosis during severe systemic infection. This is treatable with penicillin or doxycycline. We should also be aware of rare systemic infections like Whipple disease caused by Trophirima whipplei. Beyond psychosis and cognitive decline, a pathognomonic or definitive sign is oculomasticatory myarrhythmia, which is a key red flag. Long-term antibiotics are the treatment. In immunocompromised patients, such as those with untreated HIV, watch out for opportunistic CNS infections like toxoplasmosis, which can cause behavioral changes or psychosis due to focal lesions, and cryptococcal meningitis, which may produce subacute behavioral changes and psychosis. Toxoplasmosis is treated after identifying lesions, and cryptococcal meningitis with amphotericin B and flucytosine. Neurocysticercosis is a common parasitic CNS infection in endemic regions and can cause seizures alongside psychiatric manifestations, including psychosis. Question 3. Can immune disorders also cause psychosis and can they be reversed? Answer. Yes, absolutely. Reversible autoimmune and inflammatory causes can closely mimic primary psychiatric illnesses but generally resolve or improve with immunotherapy. First, autoimmune encephalitis. Anti-NMDA receptor encephalitis is one of the most important causes of acute psychosis in young patients. Key red flags include psychosis, severe agitation, dyskinesias, seizures, and autonomic instability. Treatment involves steroids, EVIC, plasmapheresis, and crucially, removing an underlying tumor, which is often an ovarian teratoma. Other types include LGI-1 antibody encephalitis, presenting with memory loss, psychosis, and characteristic fatiobrachial dystonic seizures, and Caspar-2 antibody encephalitis, associated with limbic encephalitis, psychosis, and Morvan syndrome, all of which are responsive to immunotherapy. Autoimmune systemic diseases can also be culprits. Psychosis, mood symptoms, and cognitive dysfunction can all occur during autoimmune flares in neuropsychiatric systemic lupus erythematosus, which is treatable with immunosuppressants and corticosteroids. A rarer cause is Tay-Sachs syndrome, a microangiopathy affecting the brain, retina, and cochlea. Look for the classic triad of encephalopathy, branch retinal artery occlusion with vision changes, and hearing loss. Psychosis can occur as part of the encephalopathy. Neurosarcoidosis, characterized by granulomatous CNS inflammation, can also present with prominent psychiatric symptoms. Autoimmune thyroid-related encephalopathy, specifically Hashimoto encephalopathy, or SHREET, is a fascinating and dramatically steroid-responsive condition. Symptoms include psychosis, confusion, seizures, and cognitive decline, all associated with elevated thyroid autoantibodies. Finally, consider post-infectious autoimmune disorders. Sydenham chorea, which occurs after a streptococcal infection, is associated with a movement disorder and significant behavioral changes, which can sometimes include psychosis. While PANDAS is primarily characterized by OCD and tic disorders, severe behavioral disturbances can occur, though true psychosis is less typical. It is critical for neuropsychiatrists to remember that a quick and accurate diagnosis of these reversible causes can completely change a patient's outcome. If you found this rapid breakdown helpful for your clinical practice or for teaching, please hit the like button, subscribe for more neuropsychiatry content, and share this video with your colleagues. Thanks for watching.